Back in April 2020, I lost 70 pounds in a year and I've been maintaining that loss since. There are a lot of different things that I've done to lead me to have success with my weight loss and maintenance. And if I had to start it all over again today, there are definitely some things that I would be sure to do. Today, I'm going to be sharing the things that I would do if I were to start my weight loss journey from day one. And I hope that you guys find it helpful. Maybe it gives you some motivation if you're struggling to have success with your weight loss. And sometimes it just helps to hear what works for other people. I'm just sharing based off what worked for me with my personal weight loss journey, losing 70 pounds, but it's always important to find what works best for you. If you enjoy this video or find it helpful, please go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. And let's go ahead and get started just talking about my weight loss and what I would do if I had to start from day one my weight loss journey. And actually, this is the perfect time to be talking about this and for me to be making this video because I recently just started up a new kind of reset, refresh challenge where I'm getting back on track. I'm focusing on tracking my food again and some things like that. And it's only been a week, but I've actually already seen the scale start going down. I've started to see some success already. And honestly, I feel so much better. Today, I'm just going to be talking about a lot of the same things that I'm doing even right now with my little refresh, reset challenge. A couple months ago, I posted a video titled kind of similarly where I said if I were to start over, here are some things that I wouldn't do. And like I said, today I'm talking about the things that I would do that did work for me when I lost weight in 2020. The first thing that I think is most important is just evaluating how I am currently eating and seeing what areas need change and really just educating myself about nutrition and proper portion sizes. So what I did when I first started my weight loss and even more recently when I'm getting back on track was start tracking everything that I eat. And I decided to use Weight Watchers to track. You can use whatever works best for you if you prefer to do calories or however you'd like to do that. But for me, the point system just worked best. It kind of simplified things. But I think it's really important either way to just track what you're eating, to see where you're at, see what you're over consuming, or maybe where you're lacking if you're not getting enough protein, stuff like that. Which actually that wasn't part of Weight Watchers when I started it, but now it is something that they've incorporated. You can see your protein throughout the day when you track. But right in the beginning, just seeing what I was actually consuming. I would buy these Dunkin' Monster Punch drinks that were almost my full day's points just in one drink, and I had no idea how much sugar was in them to make them that high point. It really got my attention for things like that. I started paying attention to nutrition labels because with the point system, higher point items were items that had more added sugar, more fat, higher calories. It just got me to kind of pay attention to those. They were lower point if they had more protein and fiber. It helped me to make some better decisions and just see what I was consuming currently and kind of where I needed to make some changes. So I started by just tracking my food. Honestly, consistently, I tracked every bite that I ate and it was kind of tedious, but it really was eye-opening to the mindless eating I would do throughout the day, especially when I was at work or I was stressed out. When I started to actually track those things, it made me first of all realize maybe I didn't actually want to eat them and I was just doing it out of boredom or stress. It also just opened my eyes again to how quickly the points and calories rack up that I don't even think I'm actually consuming. And when I started tracking, I really made a focus on foods that were 0-point foods on Weight Watchers, which are a lot of foods that are high in protein and fiber. Those are really important to stay full and make more satiating, satisfying meals. And it also helped me down the road when I started to focus on building muscle and incorporating exercise. But it is really important to focus on lots of proteins, fibers, veggies, fruits, all of those things, and just have a really balanced diet. And using the point system and 0-point foods really helped me to just educate myself on how to do that. Another thing that I did at the beginning that I'm also doing again is just make it fun. And I really enjoy food. I'm passionate about cooking. I know a lot of people struggle with cooking and they don't enjoy it, but try to make it simple, but also enjoyable and fun. What I mean by that is just trying new recipes, trying new ingredients, new snacks, even how we do our snack reviews. It's always a fun way for us to find new lower point options. Don't make it some dreadful thing that you are just like incorporating foods you don't like. Try to find things you enjoy. Make copycat recipes. That was one thing that helped me so much because I went from eating takeout food 2 times a day to starting to track and realizing I couldn't incorporate that and it wasn't helping my future goals for my health. So I started making copycat meals at home using ingredients that I had found that were lower point options, higher protein, higher fiber, stuff like that, so that I was able to make these meals at home that were much lower point, but more filling and still tasted just as good, if not better sometimes. And whenever I would eat fast food or takeout, I'd be hungry within an hour, but when I'm making these copycat meals at home, they're so much more filling and I'm full for hours. I do have a video with a lot of my favorite copycat recipes. I'll link that in the description if you guys want to check that out. But most important for me when I started my weight loss journey, if I were to start again today, would be focusing on nutrition and learning how to fuel and nourish my body, learning proper portion sizes, making it fun but keeping it simple, but really focusing on those 0-point, high protein, high fiber foods. The next thing that I would do if I was starting my weight loss journey today is so important, and it is hard, but it's really refocusing my mindset. Even now, restarting and doing my refresh, I've had to kind of just go through and remind myself of those things that help me set my mindset for success with my weight loss, because in the past, having a negative mentality really did hold me back, and it made me feel like there was just no point in even trying. It made me feel like I failed all the time when I would overwhelm myself with all these changes and then fail, and I just would go further in the other direction. Changing my mindset made a huge difference when I started my weight loss journey, and I'd make sure to refocus it if I were to restart again today. One of those things, kind of like I mentioned, is focusing on consistency over perfection, because in the past I would think that I had to cut everything out, do all this exercise every day, and just be perfect every single day in order to have success. And if I didn't do that, I thought I wouldn't lose a pound. But I learned that what's important is just staying consistent with these small habits that make me feel better. It doesn't even have to be these overwhelming changes. It can be small changes at a time that are actually sustainable, that you actually enjoy, and they do actually lead to results, because that's how I was able to lose 70 pounds in a year. I just found these different small habits that I could slowly incorporate, and they just led me to feeling better and making better choices. Some of those being tracking consistently, like I said, portion sizes, finding healthy substitutes, stuff like that. But I realized that the time was gonna pass no matter what, and I wanted to make a change so badly that I realized if I just started small, it would still add up over time, because the time was gonna pass. So one of the most important things that I did when I started my weight loss journey, and that I'm actually doing now with my reset, is reward myself for consistency. And what I mean by that is I would pick something to stay consistent with that didn't put too much pressure on me. So for me, one thing that I knew I could control was tracking everything that I ate. And in the first month of my weight loss journey, I tracked every single day, everything I ate. And after that first month, I rewarded myself with a foot massager. I had picked it in the beginning, and it was something I had wanted that got me excited to work towards this goal. But it wasn't one of those things where if I got to the end of the month and I didn't hit the actual weight I had set for myself for like a weight loss, then I would be upset in the past. And this took so much pressure off, because I was in control of just tracking my food every day. And in the past, I wasn't in control of what the scale said. Even if I did everything right, there were times that I would still step on it and it wouldn't be what I wanted to see and what I had been working towards. So this way I was consistent with tracking, and that actually led me to lose weight and have success in my first month. My second month I did it again, third month, and I just continued to reward myself for just tracking consistently, and that made it a fun way to stick to it that actually led to huge results. I continued to lose weight each month. Another mindset switch that I made was just my purpose for losing weight. In the past, it had always been based on how I looked. I wanted to look a certain way, and that was never enough of a reason for me to stick to it. Or I cared what other people thought, and that was what got me to try to lose weight, but again, it was never enough. So this time around, I had a new reason, and again, this would be my reason if I were to start up, but that is just my health and my future. I saw a quote that honestly changed my life. It said, if you don't make time for your wellness, you'll be forced to make time for your illness. It stuck with me so much, and it really helped me to make these changes, because it made me realize that I didn't want to be dealing with something down the road that I had caused based on the choices I was making. And I realized I can make these choices now to just hopefully in some way make my future a little bit better. I know that some illnesses are unavoidable. That isn't the point of the quote. It's more so that the more bad choices that I continue to make and unhealthy choices were just leading me down a more unhealthy path that I would have to deal with in the future. I realized that I needed to make a change, and I was starting to get scared for my health. I started to notice more things like getting very winded just going upstairs or even walking around at work. My toes were going numb at work a lot, and I just didn't feel good. I had horrible back and knee pain. It was just a lot of stuff adding up that was starting to scare me. So I realized that I needed a reason to do this, and that became my reason that has motivated me since then. And then another shift with my mindset was just to help me from feeling too overwhelmed, and that's just taking it one day at a time. And I tell myself that all the time still to this day. I always post about it because really that is just what I live by at this point, because you can only do so much, and taking it a day at a time, you focus on the present, You focus on that next choice that you're gonna be making that can make you feel better or feel good. And that's really what's important and what adds up over time, because I kind of almost feel like it's a domino effect, just focusing on a choice and making the right one. And then it makes it easier to continue doing that. So focusing on one choice one day at a time and not overwhelming yourself has really helped me personally on my journey to actually stay consistent, take some pressure off myself, and give myself some grace along the way. Next thing that I would do if I was starting my weight loss journey over today would be set myself up for success. And what I mean by that is a few different things. Probably the most important for me on my weight loss journey, that is something I still do, but I've even kind of slacked on it. So doing this reset really has helped me get back on track. But that is just ingredient prep. And I've talked in the past how meal prep just isn't something that's really worked for me, because I get kind of bored of the same meals. I get bored of even having 1-2 days in a row. And so what I do is I prep ingredients and then I can just form different meals out of them super quickly. They're super simple to throw together, and just switching even like a sauce or a cheese or the meat or protein or whatever that you use in the dish with the prepped ingredients can make all the difference. And it just helps me to keep things mixed up and have some variety. Some things that I like to prep, veggie mix is definitely my favorite. I cut up some pepper, onion, and zucchini and I just heat it up and have it in a container in the fridge, and it goes with so many different meals. So that's the thing that I've probably prepped the most throughout my weight loss. And I do a couple different veggie mixes, but that's definitely been my go-to. I also like to do turkey burgers, 2-ingredient dough, bagels, and pitas. Lately, I've been doing more breakfast foods, so even like breakfast burritos or egg bake or waffles. Things that I can just quickly throw together with a couple ingredients to make a nice filling meal that's got a lot of protein, it's got some fiber, stuff like that. So ingredient prep has been huge for me. Going along with that is kind of just staying on top of grocery shopping, because in the past I was always really tempted with fast food and takeout. And when we don't have food in the fridge and just food that helps us make healthy choices, it makes it so much easier to want to just get takeout and fast food and justify those choices. Having the fridge stocked with food, making sure that I'm staying up on grocery shopping so that we have good lower point options, and again, just the foods that help us stick to our goals. That's something I really prioritize and make sure that I'm actually doing a good job when I go grocery shopping to find ingredients that I can make these meals with. Along with that, just finding healthier substitutes. So I've talked in the past about how much I used to love ranch dressing, and then I found Bolt House, which is a yogurt-based ranch dressing that tastes so good. It really has been a good lower point option that I can still incorporate. I just always make sure with sauces to try to keep them in the normal portion sizes so I don't overdo it, because in the past I didn't have a second thought about that, and calories can add up really quickly when you do that. So having healthier substitutes, healthier snacks that I can have during the day or at night when I want some desserts, it's always just been helpful for me to have some substitutes ready. And if you were to be starting a weight loss journey now, I actually have a Weight Watchers must-have list which has a bunch of my substitutes on it. I can link that video in the description. Those are a lot of the things that have helped me to stay on track with my weight loss and my goals. Now for me, I did not start exercising until about 5 to 6 months into my weight loss journey, because I really needed to focus on nutrition. In the past, I would try to earn food by working out really hard. I played volleyball all my life, and because of it, I never really struggled to be active, and I just really over consumed when it came to food and calories, and that's where my weight really caught up to me. So I would try to, again, just earn my food, and I thought that I could outrun a bad diet, which you really cannot do. It is so important to make nutrition your priority, and then exercise for your health, your future, just your bones, your joints, your muscles, all of those things, but not to be able to eat more food. And when I kind of switched my mindset to that, it really made a difference for me, and I started to exercise again for a longer, healthier future. So I think it's just dependent on your journey. If you are already comfortable with exercising, if it's something you already do, at that point when I started my weight loss, I did not exercise at all. I was working way too much. I was just overworking myself with my schedule, and a lot of it included me just sitting and working on cookies. It was when I was starting up my cookie business and running my cookie business, and I would sit for hours and hours and hours. And then when I went to work, I would just be at work. And it was actually a pretty active job, but I never went to the gym. I never actually had intentional exercise that I would do. If you're at the point where you already are, I think you can definitely continue that and still just make your nutrition a focus. But if you maybe struggle the same as I did, where you thought you could outrun a bad diet, maybe just start first focusing on your food choices. You can still include walking and stuff, and even going to the gym if you want, but I don't know. For me personally, it was best to just not overwhelm myself with too many changes at once. Although it is very important and beneficial to incorporate working out, weightlifting, cardio, and all of those things. And I do now. And I started to after I felt comfortable with my food choices. At that point, I had lost about 50 pounds. And again, it wasn't because I was overweight that I didn't start working out. It was because I just needed to focus on my nutrition. And one more thing that's important when it comes to incorporating exercise is just finding things that you do enjoy. In the past, I'd always try to make myself run or just do exercise that I did not enjoy, that I dreaded. And it was so hard to stay consistent with it. So when I decided I wanted to incorporate movement, then I found things that I actually looked forward to, which included rollerblading. I started going to the gym and lifting weights. And then even now I'm still trying to find new ways to move. I've been enjoying pickleball lately and also sprints, which are something that I never thought I would enjoy, but it's a nice challenge. It's something new. And it's one of those things where I kind of have the same mindset as my weight loss, where a little bit adds up to a lot. I've been doing my sprints just once a week and I go there and I pretty much do just what I enjoy. And it's just running a sprint, walking back and waiting like a minute or so, doing another one. And that way I get rest in between, which when I used to run like longer distance and try to force myself to, I just didn't like not being able to get a break. So sprinting works for me. It's important to find what you enjoy and what works for you. Another thing that I would do if I was starting over today is find a community or others to relate to who are on a similar journey or the same, a weight loss journey that you can connect with, that you can share recipes, talk about the ups and downs, share weigh-ins, all of those things, have someone for accountability. When I started my weight loss, I made my Instagram page and didn't want anyone to see it. It was very, very private. I just wanted to be able to find other people that were on Weight Watchers. I remember at that time, everybody had like WW in their handle. Even mine used to be actually NIKKIGETSFIT on WW. And I was just using it as a way to just, again, have some accountability, find others who were using Weight Watchers, and they would also share weigh-ins, recipes, stuff like that. It really is a great community that you can connect with others who are doing the same thing. That really helped me for accountability, and to this day now, it has been something that really holds me accountable. Even my YouTube channel, sharing my journey with you guys, and just, again, connecting with so many others who can relate to, maybe if they're not even on Weight Watchers, but just similar things that I've talked about on my channel with my past, with my struggle with food, or even now how I've found balance and sustainability and what works for me, maybe others can relate to as well. So it really does help to have a positive community that you can connect with. And it can even be fun to challenge each other or find challenges. I recently have mentioned the step bet that I have coming up on October 26th. And it's just a fun way to hold each other accountable while also challenging ourselves to something that is beneficial for our health in the long run. Finding a community, connecting with others who you can relate to really is a helpful thing if you're starting a weight loss journey and maybe you just need that extra connection and just positivity. And then the last couple things, if I were starting up my weight loss journey, I would take progress pictures and progress videos, which actually that's a thing I mentioned in my other video about things that I didn't do when I started my weight loss that I would do now, because I wish I would have taken measurements and videos. But I did take progress pictures, and that helped me so much along the way to see progress when maybe the scale stayed the same or wasn't moving, and I was getting in my head not seeing the actual progress on myself. But then I would look at these pictures and actually see the difference in the outfits and how I felt and everything. And so having those pictures was really helpful to me. And even now starting up again, I took some new progress pictures. I've been updating them throughout my journey, and it just keeps me motivated even when the scale's not moving, when I'm building muscle and maybe even the scale's going up. It's just been something that I really recommend, and it's really helped me personally to have those pictures. And every time I mention them, I always say you can hide them if you have an iPhone. When you take the picture, you click the three dots and hit hide photo, and it puts it in a hidden folder. If you're ever worried about keeping your progress pictures, I know in the past I would always delete them because I was scared someone would see any of the pictures on my phone and I was just embarrassed by them. Being able to hide them this time around actually allowed me to not delete them and then have them to this day, again, to use for motivation. And then two things that I mention in pretty much every single video where I share tips about weight loss is make sure you're prioritizing sleep and make sure you're prioritizing water. Those things are really essential and make such a difference with your weight loss, your energy, how you feel, and overall just important healthy habits. So that wraps up everything that I would do if I were to start my weight loss journey over today, the things that I did to lose 70 pounds in a year and maintain that loss since then. It's also a lot of the things that I'm doing now when I've started my little reset that I'm doing to get back on track. It really is important for me me to stay consistent and find ways to even reward myself for staying consistent. It just helps me to be motivated and find sustainability in the long run. I hope you guys found these tips helpful. If you did, please go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.